Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Live at 5 presentation. My name is Carly Glantz, and I am the National Recruitment Advisor here at Carleton. I'm also a proud graduate of Carleton University. I graduated in 2016 with my Bachelor of International Business, where I got to focus on human resource management and international strategy. And I'm super pumped and excited to be here today to chat with you folks about student support. Today's presentation, again, is going to focus all around student support at Carleton. We're obviously not going to be able to touch on everything, but we're going to touch on a couple of the ways that we can help make your transition to Carleton as seamless as possible and also help you achieve success throughout your time here. So, what does student support even really mean? For me, student support is all about community. So it's about having that kind of team of people who have your back and help you to have the resources that you need to really grow, achieve, and succeed, not only during your time at Carleton, but for life. So today we're going to touch on a couple different initiatives, and we're also super lucky to have a special guest from the Menton Center for students with visible and non-visible disabilities, who's going to give us some insight into the amazing work that they do over at PMC, and will be available for any questions that you might have. So there are lots of components that make, our home here at Carleton very unique. And one of them that is super important to us is our history and where we came from. So I do want to take this time to acknowledge that the location of our campus is on the traditional and unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. Now this fall, things are going to be looking a little bit different for all of us, and they already are for sure. And we want to be able to support you in any way that you need. So we're offering a lot of different options to stay connected with you throughout the next couple months. There's one resource in particular that you're not going to want to miss, and that is Carleton 360. If you already have a Carleton 360 account, that's amazing. If not, I highly recommend that you sign up for one. Carleton 360 is like a customizable hub that's going to give you access to some amazing resources and events that are actually based on your personal interests. And I also want to take the opportunity today to personally invite you to our upcoming virtual fall open house events. Although we absolutely would love to host you on campus, this year we're going to be offering an amazing opportunity to discover more about the Carleton programs and find out everything that you need to apply. So our first virtual fall open house is actually this Saturday, October 24th. And if you're interested in learning more about our Faculty of Engineering and Design or our Sprott School of Business, then you're definitely going to want to check out our virtual open house this Saturday. Again, that's April 24th. And then coming up on November 7th, you're going to have the chance to learn about all things with our Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Public Affairs, and of course, our Faculty of Science. We have some really other amazing initiatives this fall. One of them is our new podcast called The Talking Raven, where the host, Stanley Philippe, with the help of some special guests, are going to give you some tips, tricks, and insider info to really help you navigate these next couple months. And you are not going to want to miss the next upcoming episode that's going to be coming out at the end of the week. We have a very special guest on that episode. And lastly, I want to make sure that everyone knows all about our future Ravens coffee break. So this is the opportunity for you to sit one-on-one with someone from our recruitment team and really kind of have that intimate conversation. Talk about anything and everything Carleton that might be on your mind. And again, so you can access all of these events and more resources on your personalized Carleton 360 account by heading to 360.carleton.ca to create your profile today. Now, as a Carleton student, you're going to have an unparalleled kind of package of both academic and student support initiatives. These initiatives are really designed to support your complete university experience at Carleton and really help to promote that overall culture of success that we have on our campus. So this means that you'll be supported from student experience, orientation, academic advising, workshops, accommodations. No matter what you need, we've got you covered with student support. So I want to start today by talking a little bit about the Student Experience Office. So this is an office known on campus as the SEO. Now, our Student Experience Office is going to really take care of you from day one by offering you a variety of programming throughout your undergraduate degree. The first initiative that I want to highlight is fall orientation. So you might have heard of that as Frosh Week or Fall O. And although it did look a little bit different this year, we were still able to have the RCALs join our first year students for a personalized virtual concert experience, which I think is pretty amazing. Typically, though, students have the opportunity to get to know their classmates at things like Academic Orientation Day, check out all of the clubs and societies at the CU Expo in our field house, and take part in a full schedule of fun and engaging activities throughout their first week on campus. Now, the Student Experience Office offers our students amazing kind of array of activities. One that I really want to highlight is called First Year Connection. So this is a peer mentorship program where you can sign up to be paired with an upper year student who's actually in a similar academic program as you and has a schedule that lines up so they can meet with you and they have the skills that they want to share with you to really kind of make your journey from high school to university as seamless and supported as possible. The next office that I want to highlight is our Center for Student Academic Support. And they offer a wide variety of academic programming from writing services to learning support workshops on topics such as critical thinking, effective presentations. They teach you how to do note-taking and exam prep. And for me personally, this was an office that had a huge positive impact on me as an undergraduate student, and specifically through its PASS program, or something that we call PASS, which means Peer Assisted Study Sessions. Now, I don't know about you, but in high school, I didn't have the opportunity to take a lot of business kind of courses. So when I got to university, I was seeing a lot of that content for the very first time. So one day in my first year accounting lecture, an upper year student came to the front of the classroom at the end of the lecture to tell us all about a peer-assisted study session or PASS session that they were running. And what this is it's actually a study session that's run by an upper year student who did exceptionally well in the course that you're taking. So these sessions are really for everyone. If you're a top-notch student or you're a student that could use, a little extra support in a particular area, the PASS facilitator actually kind of follows along week by week with the professor's lectures and gives you a space to, review the content, maybe do mock exams and tests in a super low pressure environment. And for me, this was definitely one of my favorite resources and supports that I had as an undergraduate student. Our health and counseling services at Carleton really offered some unparalleled service to our students, and we really continue to put their mental health and well-being first. A really awesome example of this is a new platform that Carleton put out called Empower Me. And students can actually connect with consultants, counselors, life coaches 24/7 from anywhere in North America whenever they want to. All of our health and counseling facilities are on campus, so whether that's the doctor's office, dentist, physio, counseling, it's really accessible. So whether you're, in person or virtual, everything is going to be right at your fingertips. And the final student support that I want to talk about today is the Paul Menton Center, and I'm really thrilled to be able to chat about that today. The Paul Menton Center coordinates academic accommodations and supports for students with visible and non-visible disabilities. And I'm really happy here today to have a special guest, Amanda, from the Paul Menton Center, who's here to answer some questions that we have and answer any of your questions that you might have regarding the Paul Menton Center. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Amanda to the stage. Welcome, Amanda.
Thanks, Carly. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. So I know that you are also a proud graduate of Carleton. So could you start with telling us where you're from, how you got to Carleton, and what program you studied?
Sure. So I'm originally from Kingston, and I discovered Carleton in my last year of high school when I came to visit the campus and absolutely fell in love with the campus and the community. Um, and that was over 16 years ago. So I am now an alumni and have been for quite some time now. But I did my undergrad degree in criminology with a concentration in psychology. And I also did a degree, my honors degree in sociology as well at Carleton. So I've really loved being a part of the community. After I graduated, I went elsewhere for a few years and then found my way back to Carleton and have been here for the last 10 years. So I can't get enough of Carleton and I can't get away. So I'm definitely a Raven through and through.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it's funny, eh? Like a lot of people that we meet that work at Carleton were also students. So I guess they really can't get rid of us here. So now you work at the Paul Menton Center. So can you give a little bit of an overview about what PMC does on campus?
Sure. So the Paul Menton Center for Students with Disabilities, or the PMC, as Carly is pointing out, that we so love to call it, has been around for the last over 25 years. We might have actually just celebrated our 30th. Anyways, and we provide academic accommodations for students with regards to allowing them to have access to the material they're learning in class, but also demonstrating their understanding. So that's our primary mandate, is to provide accommodations for students. But we also do a lot of services on the side. So you've heard of some amazing services at Carleton. We refer a lot to the Student Academic Success Center, but we also provide one-on-one learning strategies support for students. So you can work with somebody to address your learning needs throughout your journey at Carleton. You can access them right from the beginning or whenever you identify that you need a little bit more support. And we also provide volunteer opportunities for students. We have, just trying to think of all of the things that we do. We have a volunteer note-taking program that a lot of our students access. And to be quite honest, it's part of what makes Carleton's culture of accessibility a big one, because all of the volunteers that provide notes for students registered at PMC are students in your classroom. So we have typically somewhere in the vicinity of, I believe, I want to say like five, no, I can't remember the exact number now, but a couple thousand requests for note taking a year. So we have a volunteer note taker in virtually every classroom. So when Carly was talking about community at Carleton, you see it right from your own peers in your classroom who are not only students themselves, but are looking to support their fellow Ravens whenever they can.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so for a student that's, coming from high school and they aren't necessarily sure if they, need accommodations or if it's a good fit, what are some good first steps for a student that feel like they might be able to benefit from what PMC has to offer?
Great question. So if you're coming from high school and you had an IEP, what you need to know is that the IEP is not going to follow you to university or college. So you have to identify yourself with our center in order for you to receive access to accommodations and supports for your disability. So the best thing to do is, after you've accepted your acceptance to Carleton, you can schedule an information appointment with a coordinator like myself, and we can review the documentation you might already have regarding your disability, and we can also point you in the right direction in terms of what you'll need. The earlier you do it, the better. So like I said, as soon as you get your acceptance and you accept your acceptance, even if that's in May or June, you can still come and talk to us. We do intakes all of the time, but it's better to get in over the summer months, just so we can make sure that we have everything lined up for when classes start in September.
And just kind of going off of that, and you did kind of mention it, but I just want to be sure, can they contact you before they receive their offer, or should they be waiting until they have an offer to Carleton?
You can really contact us at any point in time. Absolutely contact us after you get your acceptance, but even if you want some information before your acceptance, you can also book an information appointment. You can do that by calling our front desk, which is 520-6608, and they will book a half-hour information appointment with a coordinator, and the two of you can just kind of talk about what that might look like. We do it all the time.
Okay, amazing. And you also did mention about IEPs and that they don't necessarily transfer over, but is it helpful when contacting PMC to kind of have that plan accessible?
Absolutely, yeah. The IEP provides us with some good information. So if you have it on hand, definitely have it with you whenever you're meeting virtually with one of us, or you can set it ahead of time. It's never a bad thing to have it with you, that's for sure.
Okay, awesome. And obviously it's like a huge transition to go from high school to university, and we're used to kind of having our parents along for the ride. But just so that we know, can a parent or guardian call on our students' behalf, or are they needing to call themselves?
That's a great question. So a lot of the time, so one of the things we really try to promote at PMC is self-advocacy. So a lot of people, just naturally might have a parent or guardian helping to speak on their behalf if they need something to address their disability. But through the PMC, we really do make sure that students understand that they need to advocate for themselves. So unless a student has signed a consent form saying that we're allowed to talk to their parent or guardian, we will not be releasing any information to anyone. We prefer to talk to the students and have the students share that information with their parents. So that's kind of what that looks like. That being said, we see parents all the time in our intake appointments. A lot of the time, parents will make the initial appointment for students to register with the center. And I can appreciate why that might be, but it's always good to start early by having, them there to support you through the process, but maybe you initiating the process as well.
Yeah, amazing. And that'll be kind of that's good practice, just kind of moving through the waves of university anyways, and kind of becoming independent people, right? So
absolutely. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, again, because right now you're not really right now with the online platform, you can't really experience the classrooms of 400 to 500 people. But when we return to that environment in the future, sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming. So we're here to kind of help you, coach you through what that might look like, how to communicate with your professors and TAs, what other services like Carly has mentioned that you could access on campus. So we kind of become a little bit of a guidance counselor for a lot of students. So, we usually have students come to us first with a lot of questions, and then we kind of refer out to other departments and services on campus. So I always say the bottom line is that, there's a lot of information that you usually get in your initial either acceptance package and initiation and everything like that, and even during your first appointment in our office. So I don't expect people to remember everything we talk about. So if you ever have a question about anything, you can always go to your coordinator and we can direct you in the right location.
That's really awesome to know. And I loved my guidance counselor in high school, and it's just having those supports along the way. It's really comforting, I think, for students to know that that's not something that necessarily is going to disappear. It's not like, we're there to hold their hand, but we are there to kind of make it a little bit of an easier, not just transition, but kind of experience as well.
Absolutely. And I do find, especially right now, I'm still really connected with my students. So we have over 3,500 students that register with PMC. So that makes up roughly about 10% of the overall Carleton population. And those are only students that actually identify themselves to us. So there's definitely a lot of other students out there who don't need accommodations or supports, but do have a disability on campus. And the students that come to see us come with a wide range of disabilities. So as you mentioned before, both invisible and visible, about 90% of our students have invisible disabilities. So those are things like learning disabilities, mental health disabilities, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder. So those are the most common, I would say, disability categories that we have that students register with us. And some students actually might not even have a disability when they get to university. It might not be till like their second or third year that something might just come out of the blue. And so, I mean, you can always register with us at any point in time. So whether it's you coming to university for the first time or you're in your third or fourth year and you know, life just kind of changes and you need some support, we're going to be there. So the bottom line is that we won't know that you're there unless you identify yourself to us.
Yeah, that's an awesome tip, and we'll definitely put the contact information for the Paul Menton Center in the chat. So feel free to reach out, even, you know, like Amanda said, if you're not sure and you just want to kind of start the conversation, you can definitely do so. And the last question I have for you, Amanda, it can be about PMC, it can be not about PMC, but what would be kind of one piece of advice that you would have for prospective students who are trying to make this huge decision?
I would say attending things like this is really important because you get to see what different universities have to offer. And I do find that one thing I wish I would have done was explored more services when I was a student. As you were talking about, I mean, when I was a student, we didn't have past sessions, but I would have really loved to have access to those things. So it's really important because you're going to be the only one kind of driving your education, that you figure out like what's out there for you, from funding to support within your department. I know we have an exceptional program through Career Services called Act to Employ that gives students with disabilities access to employment in their fields. And having done an employment project, I really got to see how important it is to start thinking about what you want to do when you get into university. I know it sounds so weird because you're like, but I just want to get my degree. And part of it is like the experience itself. It's really hard to sometimes remember like why you're doing school, or like why am I grueling myself through these readings and these tests if you don't really like know what the end game is going to look like. So it's nice to be able to have access to experiences on campus that help you build that awareness in terms of like what you really want to do. So I would say kind of put yourself out there, explore what student services are available, what your student associations offer in terms of clubs and societies and things like that. Just because I find the more that you can get out there and put yourself out there, the more you're going to get back. The people we find that really struggle are those who kind of isolate themselves and don't ask for help and try and do it all on their own. That's really not what this environment is built for. This environment is built for somebody who, you know, can identify that they need help and figure out where they can get that help from, because there is a slew of supports on campus.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Amanda. That's super helpful. And for anyone that wants to get in touch with Amanda, again, we'll put the contact information for the PMC, for the Paul Menton Center, in the chat. And yeah, thanks again. We'll talk soon.
No problem. Hope to see you soon.
Yes. Bye now.
Bye.
Okay. So kind of switching gears a little bit, we're about to wrap up our session on student support and the Paul Menton Center. Big thanks again to Amanda for joining us for that awesome Q&A. Like she said, and kind of like I was saying, there's a lot of information out there. So you're doing an awesome job by, you know, attending these sessions and getting that information and kind of filing that away for maybe a later date. But very important that you're here today. As I mentioned before, an awesome way to stay informed and get some resources and information on events that might interest you is through that Carleton 360 account. So if you haven't already, again, I really encourage you to go ahead and create a profile. You'll also have the opportunity there to ask us to mail you a view book. So then you can get one of these guys in the mail. Tons of information in there about all the different programs, a lot of the services that we talked about today, and all of those admissions requirements. So definitely sign up for 360 and go ahead and ask us to mail you a view book. And with that, you're going to have the chance to win some awesome Raven swag. So we talked a lot about community today and being part of a community. And one of my favorite things about our community is that every Friday on campus, we do a spirit day. So you'll see myself and Amanda and all the staff and students repping their Carleton spirit wear. And we don't want you to wait to be a part of that. So once you register for 360 and request a view book, you'll have the chance to receive some awesome Raven swag from us to join in on that tradition as soon as possible. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Big reminder again to join us at our virtual fall open houses coming up. So again, that is this Saturday, October 24th, where we're going to be featuring the Sprott School of Business and our Faculty of Engineering and Design. And then on November 7th, where we're going to highlight our Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Public Affairs, and our Faculty of Science. You can find all that information on our admissions website there. And we also have the PMC website on there as well. So thanks again so much for joining us. We can't wait to, keep connecting with you in different ways this year. And myself and my colleagues are going to hang around for about 10 minutes after this presentation to answer any questions that you might have in the Q&A. So have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you soon.